So I was just reflecting on my social media content, not my brand, but my photos, the way that I'm presenting myself. And it occurred to me that everything is the way that I was striving to make it just a few years ago. So a few years ago, I was striving to make more money so that I could have a more aligned background, so that I could move out of the suburbs. And what has happened is that actually I haven't had to strive at all. I've just had to allow. So, where I saw this wealth, this abundance, this shift as transactional, you know, a transaction on my effort, on my visibility, on being good enough, on having the right clients. It was always mine. And it came to me the moment that I remembered who I am. So rather than efforting my way there or anything in my material world shifting, I shifted. And I'm going to talk in this video how I shifted by dissolving the belief that I wasn't ready, that I wasn't worthy, and I wasn't whole. So I said that I had to allow. What did I have to allow? I had to allow myself to stop trying to prove myself. Today, everything in my body has called me to rest, to slow down, I'm being guided to go just sit in the sauna, skip the gym, just do my yoga. And I questioned why I would pull away from the gig that I'm practicing for, the set for the gig that I'm practicing. And when I really felt into it, I was going to hammer on, effort on, because I didn't feel like I was good enough if I didn't. And I think this is a really quite profound illumination of where we are every day in our businesses, in our relationships. We're trying to prove to ourselves by looking outside of ourselves and the shifts that happen that we are enough. So I had to allow the illusion of not being enough to dissolve away. And I had to allow the identity shifts that came with that, but also the grief of those identities that I was letting go of. One of those identities was mother, full-time mother, wife, because as I let go of the illusion that I wasn't good enough, I let go of my husband and my home as well. I had to allow the pain that came up in my body, stored from all of these traumas that I'd had, all of this pushing down, suppression of who I truly was when I wasn't trying to be good enough or try not to get things wrong. This has really come up for me this week because I've had another big frequency shift, another big identity shift. And I noticed that the pain that I do sit with, I guess, generally in my hips, really intensified. And when I went to see a myofascial practitioner to have this pain released, he pressed down on this little point in my hips, and I suddenly remembered myself sat on the edge of a table having an epidural to have my first daughter. And all of the feelings that came with that, right? The lack of control, the feeling like I was doing it wrong, that I'd not been enough to birth her myself, not feeling safe, the shame, deep shame of not doing it right. And all of that energy was stored in my womb. And I realized that this was coming up for me because in this next identity shift, it is a creative rebirth. And I have to feel safe to birth what I'm birthing. I am sharing these videos of my creative rebirth to share with you what is coming up for me, because I really feel that it is important if you want to stop chasing success and actually realize that you are magnetic. You don't have to become anything more than who you truly are. You just have to let go of everything that you aren't. What I realized as I've been chasing this wealth, chasing the shift in abundance, chasing the shift in my circumstances, that I was just chasing pieces of myself thinking that they were outside of, because on the inside of me, I didn't feel good enough. I didn't feel perfect enough. This was a deep mother wound of being made to feel a burden, being made to feel imperfect. And it's a wound that has had to unravel and release, because it was making me believe that love required me to shrink who I am, to please people and to apologize, even for just existing. So as I've gone through these identity shifts, these frequency shifts, I've been brought a lot of opportunity in my external reality to actually stand in the truth of who I am and not shrink. I feel I've been purposefully brought challenges, gifts from universe, from my soul, to stand in my power, to stand up for who I am and not contort myself. And this is what is creating the magnetism, right? It's not about being more desirable, it's about being more sovereign. So reclaiming those parts of yourself that you have abandoned completely changes your field of energy. And as your field of energy changes, everything chases around you. I mentioned in my previous video about core wounds coming up. And one of those core wounds was abandonment. I was carrying a lot of fear-based energy about if I did stand up for myself, if I did speak my truth, if I did walk as I am without trying to perfect her, that I would be abandoned because I had that wound, right? But what I've realized is that I was actually just abandoning myself, and I had to come back to myself. I had to hold myself in my truth and love myself fully as I am. And this creates this deep safety in the body. This is where your nervous system plays into magnetism. When your nervous system is dysregulated because you feel unsafe in your environment, your energy is scattered. But when you come back into that grounded place of self-love, of self-assurance, you're in coherence. Your body, your heart, your mind are aligned, and that is when your presence becomes magnetic. You do not have to do anything in the moment apart from be in the highest frequency of unconditional love, and everything will begin to come towards you. Like I've recognized today, where I'm living, what I'm doing, the opportunities that are coming to me, they've all come to me without the force. And this is because your heart is 5,000 times more electromagnetically powerful than this up here. So as you think your way through your day, as you think of the next strategy, think of the next move, think of the next way to effort, you are actually coming out of your heart where your deep magnetism is. And you're actually running away from what you are chasing, or your chasing is pushing it away. So a dysregulated nervous system is a field that will repel success, and a regulated field is one that will pull life in. And you know, I've used and use lots of ways to regulate my nervous system that have evolved over time. So you know, when I first began awakening, I used to sit down on my yoga mat 7 times a day and commit to just 7 minutes of practice. So that might have been yoga, breath work, meditation, and I repeated this, you know, these short bursts repeatedly through the day to bring my nervous system into balance. And you can actually take those methods, use those methods on my free app, which is called the Awakened Wealth app. You can get it on Android, you can get it on Apple, and you can use that method to bring your nervous system into regulation. Sometimes we are trying too hard by trying to, you know, commit to 20 minutes breath work, or these long breath work routines or yoga routines. You know, if you want something to be part of your way of being, you've got to start small, and those 7-minute chunks are powerful. Now I am so aware of my feeling center, and using that method and then deepening that practice into longer breath works, into shamanic journeying, into using plant medicine, has brought me into such deep neurosomatic connection again. I know myself, I know where my energy is, and I can discern what is push and what is pull for me, right? As I said, the nervous system is a magnet. A dysregulated field repels, pushed, a grounded one pulls life in. And I can very quickly feel now the difference in those in the ways that my energy is moving, and I focus on keeping it within, circulating it within. And this comes into your sexual energy and how your sexual energy is actually your creative power, right? Because this movement of the energy, this circulation of the energy in absolutely unconditional love is what births a third energy, what births what you've been chasing on the outside. And we can't circulate this energy when it's trapped in our root, when we're trapped by our fears, when we are, fearing birthing something new because we don't believe in ourselves, right? We don't believe that we're good enough. Just like I had this fear about giving birth to my daughter, as I have moved into this creative rebirth, same fears have come up essentially because the world teaches us that creation is dangerous. Creation creates pain if you don't do it well enough, and shame if you don't do it well enough and meet all of these external, expectations. So excuse the noise in the background. I live next door to a homeschool and they're all outside playing. So yeah, when you allow that sexual energy to circulate, to move, not to, seduce somebody, but to awaken, I felt my life force return to me. And the more alive I feel, the more magnetic I become. And, Napoleon Hill talks about this in his book, Think and Grow Rich. There's a whole chapter on sexual energy. And I actually created an intimate 3-part masterclass on this, because although he gives you this theory of how your sexual energy is connected to your creative power, he doesn't tell you what to do with it. He doesn't tell you how to harness it. And so that's what my intimate masterclass does, that you can access down in the link in the description of this video. So, let those words ring fully true for you, fully alive. As I look back on the content and I see the surroundings and what I'm doing, I am fully alive. And that's what the universe is responding to, not your effort. So if this hits home, I have something powerful for you. My next podcast episode of Mayu for conscious creators, soul-led creators, drops on Friday, and it's all about breaking the wealth template. I've got an epic guest called Karina Hart, and she's going to help you if you've ever felt like you've had to hustle, force, or perform to succeed. This podcast is going to change everything for you, because together we dismantle the hustle paradigm and show you how frequency and full creative permission creates this beautiful overflow in your life. So you can access that at the second link down in the description called Choose Your Soul. And by putting your name in that box, you're also going to get access to $399, almost $399 worth of value for free when my book relaunches. So make sure you pop your name in that box. You'll get access first to the podcast when it lands on Friday, and you'll get access to all those beautiful bonuses in the book, and you'll also get access to my song, I'll Sing You Home, before it gets released to the public. And activating my voice, activating my sound medicine has been a huge part of my creative rebirth. So I'm feeling a little bit ready to share with you. So drop your name in that box and I will connect you to all those beautiful things. And I just wish you a beautiful day.